So I've been getting a lot of requests lately to do a story time about this Seiko SPB 453 that I bought in Japan. I recently visited Japan and it was a celebration of my 30th birthday. I recently quit my W-2 job and I was able to pursue professional videography, photography, and content, and basically being like my own boss and everything. And usually whenever the time comes for my birthday, I normally always just skip it. I always just I'll go to lunch or something like that, but I'll never like actually celebrate my birthday. I always worked on my birthday. And so this time I was like, I'm finally gonna do something for myself. And I celebrated my 30th birthday by going to Japan. I turned 30 while I was in Japan, which was amazing and overall a great experience. Now, a lot of you are probably here either from this video that you saw on my channel, which was basically me in Japan purchasing this Seiko watch. You got to see the whole customer experience with the very polite, very nice Japanese people over in Tokyo, and they set up the watch for me, removed links. They even gave me like a birthday present and everything. So basically we're gonna talk about it. First off, the first question I got asked was why a watch? Why for my 30th birthday did I wanna purchase a watch? So a part of my job really requires me to travel a lot. And when I'm traveling a lot, it requires me to be in like dinners and meetings and lunches and stuff with all of these people. I would have like this really nice attire on, and then I would have an Apple Watch on my wrist. And I was just, I think I've finally grown out of the smartwatch phase, personally, because I have this Apple Watch Ultra 2. It's like $1,000+ and the like monitor on the back of the watch can't go past my tattoos. So anytime I try to work out or just use my watch, it doesn't work. So finally, I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm done with this Apple Watch. I want a nice, traditional, classy watch. And I've been really looking into getting into like silver jewelry and everything. And so I knew that whenever I was gonna buy a watch, that it was gonna be like a nice like silver watch and everything. So I made sure that that was what I wanted to do. So initially, whenever I was going to Japan, I had heard of this brand called Kuo. And they are a watchmaker or a watch brand in Kyoto. And like I remember I had come across like the sombrero watch and everything. And I remember I was like, okay, whenever I go to Japan, I'm gonna go to Kyoto and we are gonna go to this shop and I'm going to buy one of these watches, because something about me, I am an exclusive, like if there is something that is exclusive, like I am all over it. So the fact that this was a watch that was only in Kyoto, they made the watches right there, couldn't get it anywhere else, I was super sold on that fact that I really wanted a Kuo Kyoto watch. And it was my wife. It was my wife that turned me off from that watch. So I eventually like showed her, I was like, hey, this is the watch that I've been thinking about getting. Like, what do you think about this? And she said it reminded her of her clock that she used to look at in class in school whenever she was counting down the minutes trying to get out of class. Like, she said that watch reminded her of school. So I was like, okay, that watch is out of the question. We are not buying that watch. The watch that I ended up landing on wasn't even like my first choice. It was actually like the 6th or 7th watch that I had tried on. So if you guys didn't see this video, so in Ginza, Tokyo, there's 2 Seiko buildings. So you've got like the grand clock on top of it. It's like on the corner, like that is like the main building. But then if you walk maybe like 300 feet down a little bit past it, there's another small Seiko building, and it's like multiple stories. It's like 3 stories. They've got watches on each level and everything. And so that was actually where I ended up first. I was in like the smaller Seiko building. I was on the first floor, and they had like a little small section kind of near the stairs. And there was a gentleman there. And I was like, they had a stand that was really close, and there was like 3 or 4 watches like in this case that I really liked, and I actually tried those on. He pulled those watches out for me, and I was in the middle of trying these on, and to be honest, I just don't know what it was. I mean, they were definitely like cheaper watches, and when I say like cheaper watches, I think they were like 40,000 yen, 50,000 yen, 60,000 yen. Like they were a little bit cheaper for sure, and I think I could feel that. Like I think whenever I was trying the watches on, they just didn't really scream celebration 30th birthday to me. So I then went upstairs where they had the diver watches and everything, and though obviously the price point on the diver watches jumped up significantly, I went up there and, you know, they still, for some reason, none of these still caught my eye. I tried on like 2 more watches. You know, I just don't know what it was. It just none of them really spoke to me. I couldn't really figure it out. So I ultimately decided I was gonna shop around a little more. So I ultimately decided not to buy one of these watches. I ended up leaving, and we ended up going about our day and everything. And this was actually completely different day whenever I tried all of these watches on. I actually didn't end up buying my Seiko until the next day. So, you know, we go about our day, we go back to the hotel and everything. We're chilling in the hotel, and I'm like on my phone and I'm like doing research. And actually, the Seiko watch that I had ended up finding online that really caught my eye was the Samurai. Now, I'm telling this story off the top of my head, so I don't know like the official like model and everything. I'll obviously have it here on the screen for you guys, but it was like the Seiko Samurai. Like I really liked like the sharpness in this watch. I thought it was really clean. The price point was like, you know, it was in my budget and everything. And so I was like, this is the watch that I want. So fast forward to the next day, we're walking around and I was like, okay, I know. So it is actually my birthday. So it is my birthday now. And I'm like, okay, I am buying a watch today. We are going to do it. And so I was dead set on going back to the little small Seiko like 3-story building that I first went to, where I first tried on watches. But I remembered that this watch store on the corner was, you know, it was still a watch store, and they had Seiko. Obviously, you know, it had Seiko on the building and everything. It was the Seiko Tower. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's just go in here. Let's just take a look. I just, you know, like I'm probably not gonna buy anything, but I just want to look. And so I go in, and I'm walking around, and you know, you walk in and there's there's like, you know, there's tables everywhere, there's watches everywhere. And so it's this massive building, and there's so many tables, so many cases. And ultimately, you know, I'm walking around for about 20-30 minutes, and I find myself in the very far back right corner of this store. And I'm in the very far back right, and there's a little case, and it's got Prospex watches in it and everything. And I remember I'm sitting here looking at these watches. I really like the way they look and everything. And you know, I asked the little lady that was working the counter if they had the Samurai in stock that I was looking for. And so, you know, she looks at it. I translate my phone to Japanese so that way she can read it and everything. And so she takes a minute, she goes and looks, and ultimately she can't find it. And then they have 2 watches there. They've got this one there, but then there was like 1 or 2 more. I think there was one with like a blue dial, and there might have even been one with maybe like a red or a green dial. I can't fully remember, but they had these 3 there. And I remember officially, you know, since I was so dead set on the Kuo Kyoto, I was like, I really want a green dial with like the gold champagne. I was like, I really want that color. But ultimately I decided, you know, I saw this watch, and what really sold me on it was I tried it on. She pulled it out of the case, and you know, I tried it on, and immediately the quality difference was night and day. It's got a brushed band and everything. It was such a good quality watch and everything. And so ultimately, after, you know, 2 days of searching, trying on 8 different watches, I ultimately landed on this Seiko SPB 453. Now, I didn't know anything about it. Like I said, whenever I was buying this watch, I was not deep into like watch lore. I didn't know about the history of Seiko. Like I didn't know anything about models. Like it was purely instinct, purely gut. I just really liked the way that it looked, the way that it felt, the way that I felt whenever I was wearing it. So ultimately, that was why I just landed and decided on this automatic 3-day, 300-meter Seiko watch in Japan. So for those of you guys that are here for the meat and potatoes of this watch, I'm gonna go ahead and throw the specs here on the screen. It's a lot of information. I'm not gonna memorize it. I'm not gonna read it out, but there's all the specs. So that way, for those of you guys that really care about that, there's the specs for you there on this watch. Now, the biggest question, the thing I got asked the most about this watch was how much was it? I've had people DM me on Instagram, leave YouTube comments and everything, etc., asking me this question about this watch. So I am gonna tell you, I ended up purchasing this watch for 160,000 yen. Now, at the time, whenever I purchased that watch, I believe the yen to the US dollar was like 0.0067. So this ended up being just a little over $1,000 US. So now I'm pretty sure this watch anywhere else is $1,300. So I basically got this watch at a 30% discount. So 160,000 yen at the time was about $1,000. So I spent about $1,000 on this watch. So there you go. There's the big boom. There's the big one. There's the bomb. I spent 160,000 yen on this watch. So if you are in the market for a new watch, I mean, Japan, if you're already going, is a pretty good deal. But the thing is, you know, like, do you include the price of getting to Japan to get this watch? You know, like this, like technically, if you include the price of like my flight and like all that stuff, this is like a $4,000 watch, but it was only $1,000 in Japan. And yeah, so ultimately I landed on that. So ultimately I spent $1,000 on this watch. So now this is my very first like automatic watch with like manual winding. I've never had to like set a watch or anything before. So I will say it was definitely an experience, to say the least, to like set a watch and have the manual winding and understand and realize that, you know, you have to store your watch a certain way. You have to keep it away from, you know, like computers and stuff, or else it'll get magnetized and everything. So I'm definitely learning a lot with this automatic watch. It's my very first one. And so for those of you that watched my video and saw me purchase this watch, you've given me so much like just tips and feedback and advice on this watch, and I definitely appreciate it. So if you're watching this and you have been into watches for a really long time, please drop your knowledge on me. Like, I have no idea how to store this thing. Like, I don't know if I need to go buy a box. The only thing that I know is that I need to keep it where I think it's like 9 o'clock is facing up. So it stores like this. Like, that's like the only thing that I know. And I keep it away from like computers and like my phone and like all of that stuff. So if you have any tips or tricks or anything, please let me know. Like, please just give me your advice in the comments. I would greatly appreciate it. But whenever it comes to like specs and everything, I'm not the most knowledgeable. I know, like, so like I said, that's why I threw the specs and everything on the screen. But ultimately, that was why I landed on my Seiko. I love Japanese culture. I love Japanese craftsmanship. You know, they take pride in their work. And so I know that this is going to be a good watch. Second, I really wanted to elevate my attire, like the way I present myself and everything whenever I'm in these situations where I need to, you know, updress a little bit. So I bought it for the classy look, just, you know, feel a little bit better when going out into like, you know, these important lunches and dinners and meetings, and feel a little bit better than having like an Apple Watch on my wrist. And third, a reason that I didn't know at the time, but I think I've kind of taken more time and has kind of hit me a little bit more, was, you know, I didn't have anything passed down to me. You know, I didn't have a dad that passed down like a watch to me or anything like that. And so I feel like this is kind of like my first family heirloom, and that, you know, that starts with me. And, you know, it's got a story. I bought it in Japan, in Ginza, Tokyo, in the Grand Seiko building with the Grand Seiko watchtower. It was set up in Japan. I bought it for my 30th birthday. So there's just like there's already a huge story behind this. And then I wore it for 16 days after I purchased it in Japan, walking around, hiking, all of that stuff. So, like, it's already like a little dirty and everything. I mean, it's not scratched. It's in very good condition, obviously still. It's just a little bit dirty, but it's because I've been wearing it. And so I love this watch, and ultimately one day I would love to be able to pass this down to like a son of my own or anything, or even a daughter, whoever. Just I would love to be able to pass this down to a child of my own. So it's very sentimental to me. I love it, and I'm so glad that you guys love it as well. I've been getting so much like just positivity. A lot of you have been saying how much you love this watch, and you've been wishing me a happy birthday and wishing that I wear it in good health and everything. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And yeah, so that is the full story of my Seiko SPB 453. I'm sorry if there's a lot of word vomit. If you had to skip through some parts, I apologize. But I just really wanted to make this for me, just that way I had something to look back on. But I also just wanted to share the full story with you as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed. There's already another Seiko watch that I am looking at getting, because I really like field watches. Like, I have this one, but I want to add a Seiko field watch to the inventory. So the itch of buying more watches has hit, trust me. So there are more watches that are gonna be coming for sure. And I obviously am gonna have to share those with you. So if you guys have stuck around to this part of the video, please just thank you so much for watching. And if you want, please just drop a like on this video for me. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of the watch. Like I said, please give me all of your watch advice and maybe even consider subscribing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a blessed day. Wear all of your watches in good health. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name is Austin. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one.